Shows family. It's Nomsa here at Ngosi Talk Shows, Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. So with me today, I have a Ngosi Talk Shows panelist, and I also have four guests. We have Jamal, we have Bukri, we have Hope, we have Godfrey. So they're going to introduce themselves after. So our topic today is lingering impact of ancestral slavery on our generation. So welcome to this channel, guys, those if it is your first time. So tomorrow we are going to explore the impact of ancestral slavery on our generation. We dive deep into a topic on a great historical and social significance throughout history. There has been cruelty institutions of slavery that has left an undeniable mark of humanity. So on this video, we just aim to shed the light of the lasting effects of ancestral slavery, seeking a deeper understanding of how it continues to shape our lives today. By exploring the diverse perspectives and experiences of individuals from experienced background, we aim to provoke thoughtful discussion and encouragement in this video. So guys, what I'm going to ask you live, I didn't want to ask you guys at the back. I just want you guys, don't hold back. Just speak from the heart, please. I wanted to talk to you in front of the audience. We've not discussed this or how we're going to talk this. So I just want you guys, don't hold back. Every culture, background, every color, black or white, we all matter. And we all have our opinion behind the topic. So just don't hold back. Over to you guys. Bukri.
Greetings. I'm Bakari Jumbour. I'm a part of the Black Star Action Network International, which is a part of the UNIA, founded by the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I'm based in the United States of America, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Jamal?
Yeah, this is Jamal Akoli Mandi. I am a former member of the original Black Panther Party, political prisoner, and also adjunct professor in African American literature. I am also a postdoctoral candidate in the philosophy of education and curriculum design as we move forward to attack the origins of racism in America's educational institutions extending worldwide.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Okay. I'm Dingiro Geoffrey by names.
No introduction, go straight to the topic as we discussed.
Okay. For our topic today, let us first get the best words on this topic as like a slave, to tell our audience what it means. Like a slave, slave is a legal trade about human beings. It makes sad to those who have been experienced by their family members, but it brought both negative and positive impacts. Like, I'm well prepared about the motion tonight. I'm going to first share the positive impacts. Like in Uganda, our grandees experienced it more about that slave trade. Many families were broken up because of this trade, whereby in Uganda, it was forceful to those young boys and girls who were energetic by that time to go and do dirty jobs for foreigners. It makes it sad. Another thing about that slave trade, it brought many cries to those young children, whereby a mom and dad was being taken by another forceful kingdom, because in Uganda, mostly kingdoms did it so, like Uganda kingdom was powerful by that time. So it took many parts in doing that to lower kingdoms or weak kingdoms. So many children were left homeless and parentless, without dad, without mom. It did an impact of a negative way to them. Another thing, slave trade today, young girls and boys are still facing it in this way. Many people in Uganda are doing so hard to go abroad to work in that way. It is another form of slave trade, although it is modern, but to me, it looks like the backward slave trade. Another thing, slave trade, why is a good topic to discuss about it tonight. Slave trade has or did a lot in making countries like Uganda and other parts of Africa losing their materials, all raw materials, because by that time, about the history I have, those people, or the bosses, used to take out our gold, our ivories from our animals. So even now we are suffering in the wild animals. In the game parks, we are lacking some of the animals, the wild animals, because of slave trade. So thank you, madam, for this good opportunity. That's all I can have from Uganda.
Quite a strong introduction there, Jeffrey. Thank you very much. I'm sure some of Hope, we haven't heard from you yet. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
No, Hope.
Yes, I can hear you, Kamal.
Excellent, excellent. Do you mind giving your thoughts and points that you would like to talk about based on what Jeffrey introduced and discussed?
Maybe not yet. I see the impact around the world in general, and some of the points you made about the resources that are in Africa, and as a result of the division that happened in the past, and some of the lingering effects, because a lot of the decisions that were not made with the people, with the resources, they were made by others, and people are still suffering. People are still, now someone might say, well, why can't they do this? But it goes so much deeper than that, because there are accords that were made, there are rules that were made, there are agreements that were made that left people out of the situation, and it's still affecting people today. Even as he mentioned, modern slave trade. If we were to look, for example, at the USA, for example, we see where the school to prison pipeline, for example, where a lot of, or even people going into the army, they're not afforded the resources they need to do the things they need to do. So then they're forced to do certain things in order to get what they need. And one of those things is to get into the army. Now, it may seem like a good thing, it's good for the USA, but is it good for the community? Because they basically you are interfering with the resources of other countries. You're fighting for what you claim is good for your country, but then you displace people from other places. And it's like a trickle down. So then people are coming into this other country, and then there's this resentment of people coming to the country. However, their country has been destroyed by you. So why are you resentful for them coming? It's like somebody coming into my home and taking my stuff. And when I come to get some of it, you're saying it's not okay for me to come and get some of it. You know, the same thing when you see the land that should be like in South Africa or Zimbabwe. Yeah, same type of thing. You know, it's all part of this big legacy that's been handed down where other people are making decisions. And even now, when people want to step in and decide that this country should have these rules and this country should have that rule, without allowing or affording those countries the right to make decisions for their own countries. And this is all part of this pattern of dominance that is being prolonged or perpetuated. Yeah, that's what I would say for now. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so far as well for sharing. I like to point out as well, I mean, the slavery impact as well, which has been going on as well back in the generations as well with our ancestors. It has been actually as well in effect in so many countries of the world, in so many parts. Like my parents were originally from ex-Yugoslavia, and when I did some research as well on where my lineage comes from, I could see as well that the Turks at some point, they tried to get the land of ex-Yugoslavia. So this is as well a part in my history back then in the lineage where the Turks invaded as well the land of my ancestors and took as well many people back then as well as slaves and so on. And I've been always interested as well to see how this back then impacts actually as well the generation as of today. So basically as well me and the beliefs I have inherited back then from the lives and what has been going on as part of my ancestors being held as slaves as well. And yes, just like I would like to hear some of your thoughts, Bokhari, in regards to how the experiences as well back then on the ancestors, that some of them, the good and the negative ones of being held as slaves, still are impacting us today. So what do you think about this, Bokhari?
There is no such thing as good.
Mm.
There's no such thing as a good outcome for slavery.
Mm.
Okay. My name that I have today, for those who do not know, I just recently received my name. I wasn't born with this name. Okay. I had to do an African ancestry DNA test because none of my elders in my family knew exactly where we came from. And that's a problem because it severs us from our culture. And unfortunately, those of us who are of African descent, a lot of us, we don't love ourselves. And it's because of the negative light that has been placed upon us as African people. And it affects us to this day. Okay, you know, we subscribe to the Eurasian way of life because the colonizers were European. So it's no disrespect to, you know, all Europeans, okay, but it has to be called out for what it is. You understand? You know, we didn't speak English, right? So which comes from a European tongue, right? Some of us don't even know our own language. right? So with that being said, it affects us psychologically, okay? Because a lot of us, we feel lost. Okay, a lot of us are angry, we're frustrated. And the truth of the matter is it comes from that because we don't know where we come from. Then we're being treated like trash, okay? And we're being refused to learn our own history, right? We're being refused good jobs. And some may say, and I live in the United States of America, you know, some may say, well, there's plenty of opportunities. Well, for some of us, okay, we're not as fortunate, and I'm never above my people. Even though I may have retired at the age of 39 years old, there's still masses of my people, okay, that are in poverty. And what a lot of people like to do is use a handful of successful African people throughout the diaspora and, oh, look at him, oh, look at her, right? The reality is we need help. We need psychological help. We need economical help. Okay, because this has been strategic. Okay, we get refused loans. And now in the United States of America, affirmative action has been taken out of place from the colleges. So now they could just literally tell us no. And that's it. That's just the end of it. No accountability. Oh, well, you know, they'll be okay. They'll be fine. Just go away. You understand? And we have a right to take care of our families. You can't be a doctor without a degree. You can't be a lawyer without a degree. Okay, there are certain occupations that require for you to have credentials. And when you're refused that, then how do you take care of your family? Now, you know, most of us get the low-end jobs, or either we have to keep working for, okay, the one who colonized us. And it's intentional because they don't want, and I'm not talking about all European people. Let me be clear. I don't do that blanketed statement thing because I know that you judge somebody according to their character, not by their ethnicity. I'm talking about the racists who strategically target us and try to keep us in that position where we're constantly begging. Okay, that's the reason why you don't see any Africans in America that own any type of contracting jobs. Okay, you don't see a lot of them. There's a handful of them, but you don't see a lot of them. You don't see a lot of Africans in America owning banks. You see a few of them, but you don't see a lot of them. And it's intentional. It's intentional and due to affirmative action. Oh, you see, well, you got 2, 3, 4, 5 African people over here that's doing it, but there is a slew of African people that are qualified. You understand? And people can say, oh, go start a job. But for those who do not know, and I'm an entrepreneur, you need money. Period. It sounds so easy. Oh, just go start. And no, it's not just go start. You need funds to start a business. You have to register with the state. Okay, you need funds for those, like for myself, I'm into the e-commerce space. You need funds to, and you're in retail, you need funds to replenish your stock. You understand what I'm saying? You need funds to do that. And so what I'm saying is that we rate these funds, but we are being refused these funds, and we help to build this country. No representation. We get taxed. Now, I'm not saying that Ukraine don't deserve help. Okay, but America is saying, oh, they don't have money to give us reparations. You understand? But it's our tax dollars that they're using to go over there and help another country that's in despair. Now, I'm just saying, I'm not saying they don't need help. But what I'm saying is you take care of home first. Who would refuse to feed their family and feed another family, and then their family is still starving? So what I'm saying is United States citizens of African descent should have been getting that money because our families are starving and we need help as well. I rest my mic.
Thanks, Bakari. That was was very well said, and lots of points and things to discuss here. I mean, from my perspective, I'm just going to talk about the psychological effects that it has from what's called the transmission of the trauma from ancestors to today. Ancestral trauma is a fact, right? It's a connection between psychology, genetics, and history, which you clearly pointed out based on the history, Bakari, as well as Jeffrey. Now, when the history happens, we know for a fact now that we inherit fears and traumas from our parents. And so from a psychological perspective, it continues to affect us all. Whatever trauma, whatever fear that has happened in the past due to wars, due to discrimination, due to slavery, due to any event that causes these trauma, they linger on unless we find ways to get out of them, ways to help ourselves and help our community to move forward. There are patterns, obviously, when this trauma is transferred, and the patterns are thoughts, education at home, behavior, and the relationship that is passed down through the generations. So families that experience such a trauma, they develop a coping mechanism to live by, whether it's emotional withdrawal, hypervigilance, or even substance abuse at times. These behaviors obviously are sometimes learned and are also replicated by the subsequent generations. And so this is where the originality or the origin of trauma comes from. So this has affected all of the descendants and people who suffered atrocities like slavery, being taken away from their homes in Africa and sent to the Americas, to Europe, Holocaust, colonization, and injustices. These impact the future generations. And I'm actually honored to be part of this discussion with you guys, because it's interesting to see a perspective that not a lot of people get to understand or see. I come from mixed cultures, so we have included several cultures in our families. Part North African, I'm part Asian, I'm part European, and I grew up all over the world. And so my experience in that sense has never been similar. The only similarity that I can find is moving to Norway about 11 years ago, where being a child of the world, I had never experienced racism at all. But coming to Norway, that was the first impact for me. And I realized already from the very start how it was going to impact me. One of the first things that impacted me is that I added the family name of my ex-wife into the name of my children, because I didn't want them to feel ostracized from society. I didn't want them to feel that they are being targeted because of their names. At the same time, I am teaching them everything about my cultures, specifically Egyptian culture or French culture. And the impact that I'm refusing myself to carry on is any impact of trauma that my mom had, my father had. And so I have worked to change that. And this is where psychology of ancestral trauma comes into play, where we as people have to work on ourselves first in order for us to have better generations coming ahead of us, having descendants that understand our situation, that look deep into our history, our own history, like you have done, Bokhari, and went and investigated your roots. And this is something wonderful to do. We should all do that to understand where we come from, how we have come to be in a land, especially if we don't know why we're here. So yeah, so again, I'm honored, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and your points, Jamal.
I can appreciate your comments. I would like to put it perhaps in global perspective and also bring it back to the United States. Brother Sheikh Anta Diop once stated that when, excuse me, the Europeans colonized the planet, they colonized 2/3 of all inhabitable and productive land, which means that they in fact controlled all of the natural resources and wealth on this planet. In doing so, they institutionalized firm control over all systems, that being political, economic, legal, and policing. All laws, policies, and procedures are based on a racialized hierarchy of white supremacy and control of not only the natural resources, but also of the bodies of peoples of color. No matter what continent, the game is still the same. If we bring it home to the United States, we are on the verge of a civil war in this country. You have a rogue Supreme Court that is rolling back all of the laws that protected or gave the enslaved legitimate rights as human beings. If we look at the Second Amendment, which is creating serious repercussions for those who were affected by slavery and today are even more so affected, the gun laws that are in effect today are still in the hands of what we call slave patrollers. That hasn't changed, they're just called police today. The original purpose of bringing the Second Amendment into codified law was to prevent slave rebellions that were scaring the hell out of slave owners during slavery. Unfortunately, the Second Amendment was originally for militias. It was not the right for every American citizen to own a gun. That's been fabricated. But today, how we are affected today by slavery is, it's almost scary to even knock on a door without getting shot through the door because of the color of your skin. You have a mother that lost her child because of the color of her skin. You have a 9 and 12-year-old child who lost their mother because she confronted a racist who threw objects at her child, whom she as a mother was vowed to protect the integrity of that child. When we talk about the effects of slavery today, it hasn't disappeared, it's only a chameleon. It has changed its colors. Institutionalized racism in this country, in the United States of America, is alive and well. Make no mistake about it. As a former member of the Black Panther Party, our first obligation was to serve and protect the integrity of the Black communities, even if it meant through force of arms. and we were willing to give our lives to do so.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jamal, and everyone else. And for me, with this, I agree with Bukri and Kamal as well, and Jamal and Hope and Godfrey and Claudia. What Bukri has said, that he's just got his name. I did my ancestral search as well. And it broke my heart that when I find out my family, who my family were, that actually we thought all these years we were South Africans, and my dad always said, no, we are not. But he never actually wanted to talk deep into everything. So I wanted to know why he was holding back. So I dig deep, and then only to realize actually in my family, there was a king in my family, and then during slavery, they had to leave Nigeria in Kenya, and they stayed in South Africa, and all that got lost. My family history got lost because they wanted to hide. And one of my grandparents was married to a white family. But because they didn't want to be exposed, they didn't want to go through pain. So they decided to give up the life that my family, the legacy of my family, and to go and live in the middle of nowhere, where they became from something to nobody. And when I decided to actually go through this topic, it was when I'm just going to keep it real. I decided to fast one day. And when I decided to fast, I was like, God, show me, why is my life like this? And sometimes I'll speak to the coaches at Ngozi talk shows, they're going through pain. So I was like, just show me, what is the secret? And then I had this revelation that the slavery is not in the physically anymore, but in the spirit realm, it exists, is alive, like what Jamal is saying. I got really angry. I got mad. But when I started looking at it, actually the people, they're not just torturing Black people, they're actually torturing even white people that are helping the Black. And I was like, why do these people have to go through pain? And I said to myself, I'm not slave for no one. I want to succeed. There is a decision where in the spirit realm that Black people, there is how far you can go. You can't go further in life. So they are stopping people and succeeding. And then at the time, I thought I was going crazy. But then my pastor today, he actually confirmed it. He was like, this is the secret. This is what is happening in the realm of the spirit. And I was like, he's just confirming the revelation. And that's why I'm saying, you guys, don't hold back, because there are some people who try to start businesses. They try to actually get promotion. They try to get a good education. And like what Kamal is saying, that in Norway, he never really experienced the racism until he saw it there. So it does exist. And I was like, I just went mad to the ancestors, really telling them that I'm no slave to anybody. And the moment I said all those words and going mad, and I could see there was like an argument and fighting. Why are you trying to stop this child? She's trying to succeed, because like my life is going wrong. And I was like, why, when I'm trying to fix this, that it gets broken? Something is not right here. So I needed a revelation, and that is the revelation. And that's why we are here today, that the slavery is gone. In the physically is gone, but in spirit is very, very strong. So that's why I said to you guys, don't hold back, because no matter what color you are, and I was really upset that there are some white people who have accepted Black people into their community, but they are actually being tortured for assisting our kind and our ancestors, have they not suffered enough that we still have to continue suffering? We need to know our identity, who we are. Like myself, I'm here in the United Kingdom, and I was like, why do you have to stop me in the land of the dead? Why in the land of the living? Why do you have to stop me wanting to become the person that I want to become? So that's why we are here today. Over to you, whoever wants to go, whoever wants to take over.
Well, I would like to say something. I'm just like realizing again by listening to all of you how important it is as well for me to, and I'm doing this already, the belief and the thought that we are all the same, no matter what. It doesn't matter where we are from, how we look and everything. We are all the same, and as well the understanding, because we come from the same source. So it's just like there is no difference. I would like to ask our guest speakers today something in regards to the traumatic effects you might have experienced in regards to what Kamal said earlier. Did any one of you, I'm just interested, do something? So for what did you actually do in regards to heal this part in you? Just like any insights or ideas, like Jamal, Geoffrey, Hope, or Bokhari, just like out of curiosity, how do you live with this in your life today?
Let me add something to some substance to your question. What I try and do and how I try and fulfill my life is to understand, to allow others to understand through my teaching methodology that slavery was born out of the necessity for persons to dominate, to gain personal wealth. Race and racism is a false social construct. First and foremost, prior to the Enlightenment period, there was no such thing as racial differentiations. Racial taxonomies was born out of the Enlightenment period to justify the enslavement of human bodies. The sad thing about that ordeal and experience, especially for people of color, is we were totally removed from our own referential realm, meaning we lost our religion, we lost our culture, we lost our language, we lost everything of value that gives spirituality and meaning to human existence. It was replaced by false social constructs that denigrated us as human beings, removed us from the pages of history, and removes us from our ancestral spirits and gods. Brother W.E.B. Du Bois, I think, said it quite succinctly. Double consciousness is the war that Africans face every day. We fight within to restore our Africanness, our souls and our spirits, and we fight against the negative social reference, the constructs given to us by Eurocentrism and white supremacy thought. So you have these two souls warring for control of that one Black body every day. And what I try and instill to my students is that your spirituality, your ancestral powers are more powerful than you ever can even imagine, and that it is your responsibility to take a stand and to reclaim that body as your own. I was blessed. I took a trip to Africa several times. I've lectured and taught in Africa. What broke me down as a man was when I went to Elmina Slave Castle and felt the spirits of my ancestors and my people calling out to me. It was heartbreaking, and I cried as a grown man. It was then that I knew irrevocably who I was, because my ancestors reminded me that, my brother, if we endured this nightmare for over 460 years, we can endure and accomplish anything on this planet Earth. And that's the gift I try and impart to my students.
As for me, I like the caveat on what Baba Jamal said, is that what I did was, and to be frank with you, I've never had a problem with being African. That's not something I ever had an issue with. Even when I was younger, believe it or not, what I'm getting ready to say is the first time I ever heard the word nigger, it wasn't from another fellow African. It was from some elderly European people. I didn't even know what the word was. I literally looked up at my Baba and I said, Baba, what is that? True story. And even after my Baba told me, he just said, just know that that's not what you are. He never broke down the definition of it. Then later on, when I got older, I found out that it was a derogatory term that was placed upon us. So to answer your question, what I did was I even stopped embracing that because unfortunately, culturally, we call each other that and we try to make that into a name of endearment, and it's not. Okay, people are miseducated because, you know, Nagas, you know, is the word for king, an Ethiopian king, a Nubian king, Kushite king, whichever term you want to use. Okay, and that's not what that word meant. Okay, so what I had to do was debunk that lie and teach accurately. Okay, those things that we should be embracing that gives us our proper identity. We teach a Swahili word, kujichagulia, and it's a Swahili word meaning self-determination, meaning we define ourselves. Okay, so what I do is I teach our people, just like Baba said, take back your identity. You know, detox your mindset from the toxic things that you have been taught, even about our spirituality. You understand? You know, there's people in our ethnicity who thinks that our spirituality is demonic. Okay, why? Because the colonizer taught us that. We didn't come over here on the ships. And first of all, I'm Mende. Okay, my ancestors came from Sierra Leone. All right. So if you've seen the movie Amistad, that's literally about my ancestors. All right. So we was cut off. We didn't lose. We was cut off from that. So what I encourage our people to do is detoxify your mindset from these lies that we have been taught about ourselves. Okay. I'm not black either. All right. I'm not black. Okay. I'm Mende. That's really what I am. Okay, so I teach people, go back to the root. Okay, Sankofa, fetch, go back and find out exactly who you are. Take the African ancestry DNA test. This is something I want to encourage my people to do because it tells you specifically what group of people you come from, and it tells you exactly what continent your people come from. Also, take the ancestry DNA test. All right. It'll connect you to your actual bloodline family members. Listen to me, family. Listen to me closely. People want to keep saying it's fake, it's not real. My biological sister is on my ancestry DNA test. My auntie is on my ancestry DNA test. I have cousins on my Baba side. I'm talking about blood cousins. Not no play cousin, call each other cousin. Blood cousins connected to the ancestry DNA test. Take both of those so you can trace your biological family. Then you can find out ethnically where you come from, because we all know some of our people do not know that. Even if you go to public records, okay, some of us still are lost about what tribe we come from. And I'm encouraging you to do that. All right. I know some of you may be worried about your DNA being given away. Okay. Can't speak about ancestry DNA, but I could tell you about African ancestry DNA, they don't do that. Okay. So some of us don't want to do it because of that. All right. So what I did was I did that, and I pretty much started disseminating this type of information to our people. It's for us to start loving ourselves, because we have to get to the root about why we hate ourselves. As the Honorable Minister Malcolm X he asked that question. To paraphrase what he's saying, who made you ashamed of being what you are? He asked that question. So you have to be honest with yourself. Why don't you want to be African? Why don't you want to be what and who you are? What are you ashamed of? And the truth is you're ashamed because some of us were enslaved. The truth is some of you are ashamed because of the way that we're treated. The truth is some of you have been brainwashed to believe that if it's not European, if it's not white, then it's not right. You understand? And you have to be realistic. This is the reason why we don't want our names, because they won't hire us. This is the reason why we don't want to be our beautiful African selves, because we're afraid of them wanting to persecute us, the racists persecuting us and cutting us off from resources and just constantly bashing us from wanting to be ourselves. We have a right. You understand? This is the reason why African people are so frustrated. And you have to get to the root of your anger. You have to get to the root of your pain. And until you face that, you're going to continue to be angry. You're going to continue to be frustrated. You're going to continue to be stressed out until you actually find yourself. And some of you, unbeknownst to you, don't recognize that's why you're so frustrated. A part of it is because of that. And also, I encourage you to learn various financial strategies. Implement those strategies. Learn how to build for your family. No matter how tough it is, beloved, we have to still fight. You don't give up. It's not over till it's over. And that's what I encourage people to do. This is how I accomplish that. It's maintaining my pride in who and what I am. And I encourage our people to fight for the sanity of their minds, okay, and love themselves. I rest my mic.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bokari.
What about Mama Hope down there? She hasn't said much.
Thank you.
I am listening to all this wonderful conversation, and I sent you a private message, Bokari. I'm just going to listen. I mean, I'm absorbing a lot of this, and I have so many different things running through my mind, and I'm just going to continue to listen. Very powerful conversation. Thank you, Bokari.
I'm actually curious in regards to Geoffrey. Is he still here?
I think he dropped out.
Oh,
I think the internet kicked him out. He might come back. Yeah.
okay, so I just wait until he's back in. Okay, yeah.
That was powerful, Bukri. That was really, really powerful. And I love that when you say people needs to look at their identity, you don't find peace. It is true. You're never going to find peace if you don't know who you are. And if you are living in the land where you think you belong, but you don't. And that's why so many people, they live in poverty, because they really don't know their identity, like what you're saying, Bukari, that find yourself, work on your finances, and work on yourself. Take away this color thing that we all have labeled ourselves. I know there are limitations, people find limitation, but you can find breakthrough. Find out who you are as a person. For myself, I did the ancestral DNA. I wanted to actually find out who I really am. And the minute I find out who I am, I'm embracing that culture and I'm embracing who I am. And I'm so grateful and so proud of my ancestors, for my bloodline, for actually just finding ways to survive so my children can be born and so I can be born. And be the changer as well of your bloodline. My GO, Dr. Olukoya, always talks about, forget about the pain that you've gone through. Be the changer of that pain in your family. Become somebody. Do something to change your family name, so your family name lives on and becomes something. And that means building a life that your family have never built before. Fight for your bloodline. And it doesn't matter where you come from, it does not define you. You can actually limit yourself, but just keep going. The fight lives on. I said to the spirit in the spirit realm that you want to fight me, we're just going to fight, because I'm not going to be living poverty just because I'm Black. And I had to say, the minute I said a flesh, a white man that is stopping me, or a white woman, or a Black man or a Black woman that is working together with a white man to stop me moving forward, and just saying to the universe that God, take control of the situation, put them in judgment, because I'm not going to stop living in a life that I want. I'm not going to stop becoming a billionaire or becoming a millionaire because somebody sees me as somebody who cannot succeed. So those are the mindset that you need to put in your mind, that, okay, our ancestors, they fought the fight, but then we have the opportunity now to stand and become something.
Yes, and as well, what Bokhari did say, that he's teaching as well not to believe what they say, because it's not the highest truth. Right, Bokhari? Yeah, it's not the highest truth what these people are still like trying to say and to preach and so on. So the highest truth actually is as well like see who you are and stick to you as well, and don't believe the people outside.
I totally agree. I personally feel like that the only way that this can stop, honestly, is morality. Morality. It's not about religion, because when we really be honest with ourselves, remember, human beings created that, which means that human beings predate even the Bible and the Quran. No disrespect religious people. I'm just telling the truth, right? So our people were fine until they colonized us. You understand? And that's what messed us up as a people. And the effects of that is still lingering today, because the African literally is out of their mind, because they're following after a body of principles that doesn't even pertain to their culture. We didn't come over here religious. Okay, and before religion was created, man already existed. Man was already civilized. So I'm gonna speak for my people. We didn't need nobody to civilize us. We were already civilized. And the aftermath of what you see today is what colonization has done. The racist person wants us to believe that they civilized us. The racist person wants us to believe that we were just in jungles, talking to trees, swinging from trees, and all these things of this nature, not understanding that we did not worship trees. We respect nature. You understand? We respect the earth. We respect the sun. Agriculturally, we respect even animals and life. You understand? We was lied on, talking about that we were cannibals and we was eating other human beings. You understand? And this is another reason why the African has a problem with embracing themselves, because this is what we're here to talk about. So I'm gonna just take this opportunity to put it on the table, because the problem in history, that's the problem. It's not mathematics. It's not science. Okay, it's history. Why? Because we don't see ourselves in history outside of slavery, which that's not ourselves. Our history doesn't start with slavery. And the truth of the matter was, we were, and we still are, you know what I'm saying? And I say were because the ones who was here, okay? And they took them out of their royal position. You understand? But even in today, there's still kings and queens, like, you know, over in the Akan, okay, in the Yoruba people, in the Zulu people, okay? There's still kings and queens today. You understand? You know what I'm saying? So we have to tap into our divinity, even the Nubians and the Cushites. You understand? My bloodline even goes back to the Nubians. And we married into, okay, different African tribes. You got to understand the beauty of what it is to be what you were, okay, pre-enslavement. And what has happened to the African is that we have been placed in a position mentally to worship a European God, okay, to look at historical figures that are European, okay, the ones who enslaved us, they're teaching us they're our heroes. They call them our founding fathers. No, they're not my fathers. No, they're not my fathers. You understand? They're not my fathers. Okay, my father's name was Alton D. Walden III. Okay, that was my father's name. And see, it was a European name. It wasn't African. You understand? So I had to be the one in my family to take back our identity and to speak these truths against the lies that have been taught to us, because a lot of times we're being talked about how evil and how wicked we are and all these things of this nature. Well, guess what? If the African wasn't put in a position of poverty, you understand? A hungry man or a hungry woman would do some of anything when they put into a certain position. So we're being pushed into poverty. And poverty produces what? Crime. But we're being highlighted as savages, but yet you keep throwing us crumbs, you keep throwing us scraps, you keep spending up the money, the government money that we spend with our tax dollars, and you use the money for what you want to use it for, but then you want to fault the African man and woman, right? They have us living in the dilapidated buildings. Guess who's in charge of these government buildings? The government. Why do we have rats running around? Why do we have roaches in those places? Everybody don't live unclean. I lived in the hood. I lived in the so-called hood, the inner city. I know this for a fact. My mama and my aunties, okay, my family did not live that way. You understand? So they're living in these terrible conditions, and you know what they do? They come to the hood. They come to the so-called hood, right? And they bring these contracts for gangster rap. And they say, oh, well, we gonna let you sign this contract. Now, what do you think a starving young man is going to do? His mother, his father, his brothers, his sisters, his aunties, his uncles, they're in poverty. And he tired of seeing it. He tired of seeing his mama and daddy working 2 and 3 jobs and struggling. And what do? He take his talent because he fold under the pressure. And he take that contract and he start rapping the very same thing that they arrest my brothers for. Let them rap about cocaine. Let them rap about drugs. And the very same thing they allow us to legally rap about, when one of my brothers do it, they put us in jail. It is a trap. And they have done this to us on purpose. Have us suffering. You understand? And they monetize off of our pain. This is what they do. They push us all into these ghettos, okay? Have us struggling, barely making it. Where do an AK-47 come from? I'm a retired Marine. I went to combat. I know you're not supposed to have a semi. Where does a semi-automatic weapon come from? You can't even walk in the store and buy one of those locally. They got alcohol stores on all type of corners. It is strategic and it's immoral. And then these same people that claim to be Christians Ku Klux Klan, burning crosses, bombing our people in churches. You understand? These same people claim the Bible, they supposed to believe in the Bible. They supposed to love the Lord. They ain't want us to read because from what I read, that's not what Jesus did. I may not be a Christian, but I tell you what, that's not what Jesus did. And they push that religion on us, forcing that religion on us, forcing us into their way of life, telling us that we got to wear our hair like them. If our hair is curly and if our hair, we have locks, oh, we can't be ourselves. We got to talk European, we got to dress European, we got to sound European. And guess what? Last year in 2022, they came out with a Crown Act. You know what the Crown Act is in America? It's for us to wear our natural hair. So what Baba said is accurate. If this truly is the land of the free, then why aren't we free to be ourselves? If see, this is the problem I have with racist people that claim to be Christian. How is that Christian you coming into our country and forcing your way of life on us? But you call yourself a Christian. How? How is that righteous? You're a hypocrite. And that's the reason why our people have so much problems, because they do stuff and then they hide their hands like they didn't do nothing. Oh, we didn't do that. Oh, you're lying. They went into Kemet. They blew the nose off the Sphinx. In the movies, they have a whole bunch of Caucasian people in the movie about African people. They whitewash the walls. There's footage of this. There's footage of them going inside of the actual pyramids and painting over it. Trying to hide who and what we are so we won't know how great we are. And then they want to talk about how bad we are and teach their children, oh, see the way they act, see they're savages, but they don't want to tell their children they did that to us though. They don't want to tell their children that they made us work for free and they stole our land. And then they steal our land. And you know what they do? They try to sell it back to us. In Rosewood, Florida, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is what's happening. So this is the effects. It's not over. It's not over. It is not over at all. You know why? Because they never righted their wrongs. They never gave the land back. They still trying to go into cities and they still trying to use their wealth and push our people out of the cities, gentrification. They still trying to fight us against voting, voter suppression. I rest my mic.
Very well said, my brother. If we put it in total perspective, especially in reference to the topical conversation today, the lingering effects of slavery, everything that you have spoke on reverts back to the institutionalization of hierarchy and racism in all of America's institutions. Certainly in education, the way in which curriculum structure is designed, the way in which teacher training is structured, everything is structured to tell the story and glorify the great American experience, not taking into consideration that you exterminated 20 million of the indigenous population who were truly the Americans, not taking into consideration and telling the story that over 20 million Africans through the Middle Passage never made it to this country. Never telling the story that racism as we know it today is strictly a ruse to continue to justify policies, procedures, and laws that are put in place to service the white power structure that remains in control and controls the levers of power. Certainly everything that we know today in this country as education is miseducation. I think Carter G. Woodson said it quite succinctly, the miseducation of the Negro. Our story will never be told until we take control of the narrative. One of the battles that we're waging today on the educational front is to redesign curriculum that speaks to the experiential experiences of the true history of the African-American experience. Within the field of education, what we're doing today is deconstructing all of the racist constructs that gave the negative inferences to African and peoples of Africa inferiority. What we're doing today in education is restructuring reference that gives positivity to the African experience, to the African-American experience, and to define who we are as human beings on this planet. So certainly there is so much work to be done, and we can never lose sight of how destructive slavery was to human beings that lost not only their heritage, but was stripped of everything that was valuable to them as human beings. And I agree with you, brother. I trace my heritage. I am Hausa. My tribe is Hausa. I am from what today is called Nigeria. And I would suggest that every person of African descent find out who they really are. Because one thing is for certain, those of us who occupy the shores of this country can only trace our roots back to the disembarkation from the slave ships on American soil. Anything after that is a mystery, and that is a lost feeling, never to know who and where you are and where you actually came from. So I applaud you, my brother, for taking the steps that you did. And I would suggest that any person on this continent and in England and any parts of the diaspora that can trace their roots to find out where what we call is home. That old saying, home is where the heart is absolutely correct. And I would wish that every of our people were able to claim and enjoy that same experience. Because in this country, the fight is not over. We're going through a period of fascist dictatorship that is banning books, that is determining what can and cannot be taught in the classrooms, that is trying to convince us that critical race theory is not a theory, because they fear that once we understand how to interrogate their history, that we will unravel all of the falsehoods and all of the genocidal acts committed against people of color, and how they have exploited and vilified Mother Nature for profit. Hurricanes, tornadoes, forest fires today are a direct result of the Great Mother being raped and desecrated. The Great Mother, meaning Mother Earth. So to all that are out there that have some degree of humanity in their souls, they must choose which fight they're going to fight. Because if we don't continue to wage the battle to fight against the remnants of colonialism, neo-colonialism, imperialism, and slavery, we are going to perish as a humanity over the next millenniums to come. As you say, my brother, I yield my mic.
Kamal, you've been very quiet and hype.
I'm sorry.
Kamal, he has been very quiet.
I'm listening to the wonderful speeches and the wonderful, the amazing words from our guest speakers. I speak every day. I don't need to speak too much. I'm obviously thinking of the psychological ramifications and how to help communities to evolve beyond a state of psychological trauma, because this is what I do. And the identity factor and how strong it impacts us as people, considering that I'm a life purpose coach, and purpose is something that we need to understand. And if we don't understand our own identity, then why do we exist? So my concerns are very much in the traumatic and the psychological effects that are inherited, that are taught unintentionally, obviously, and that perpetuate that feeling of I can't find the correct word, but that causes one to feel shame, to feel anger, to feel all of those emotions that prevents one from moving forward in life. As a proud Egyptian and also fellow African, because Egypt is part of Africa, the massive controversy that came along about Cleopatra and how the backlash of it, for instance, I took it from a historical perspective because, well, according to history, Cleopatra was not only Macedonian descent, but or Ptolemaic, she is in French we call it métisse, which is a mixed blood, just like me. She had Egyptian roots, she had Greek roots, and the Egyptians were known to have Nubian roots as well. So the fact that historically inaccurate things are being spread into education, that also impacts culture, as Jamal and Bukhari mentioned. The same thing is happening if you look into the white history and who are the innovators of astrology, of art, of chemistry and medicine. All of that is predated by the Arab world. They were the engineers of those things. They were the ones that started all of that movement and inventions. For instance, we're talking about ancient Egypt. Well, the ancient Egyptians, they already knew the golden ratio and they proved it, and everything is built based on that. And then history changes and it's a Greek person that says, we're taught in school that no, it's the Greek that invented the golden ratio. Now, this is something very specific. But this, as you mentioned, Bukhari and Jamal, it affects the growth, it affects the need for students of Earth to delve deeper into the real story, not his story, but the real story, the real root behind everything that is happening in the world. Whether it's the political agenda of every white country, I'm going to say it this way, whether it's the refusal to allow Africa to be what it was, a great continent. Because Africa doesn't need Europe, it doesn't need Asia, it doesn't need America. Africa is self-sufficient, and yet it is forced to follow laws, regulation based on the colonization, the old colonizations that they are still following to contain it. And that is the state of affairs right now. Now, how do we move forward through that? Well, it's to educate ourselves the best that we can. And Bukhari and Jamal, you eloquently explained it. Educate our children, educate ourselves first in order to be able to educate our children, and forward the message, forward the information correctly, dig deep into the roots of what has been happening, so that we no longer have to hand over a traumatic experience to our children. Working on ourselves and dealing with these traumatic experiences is one of the most important things. The emotional suppression that one constantly does due to traumatic experiences is a coping mechanism. And it's rooted in the belief that showing emotion is a sign of weakness. This causes discouragement in children to express their feelings, their pain, their sadness. You can see it. You can see it in children that have lingering ancestral trauma, how some of them refuse to show their emotions because they are emotionally suppressed, because they are taught, they are shown that you're not allowed to speak like this. You're not allowed to mention that you have a heart and that you can speak from your heart and that you have strong emotions. I'm a Mediterranean person. I speak with my hands. I speak loud. And I don't care if anybody says you're not supposed to do that. No, I do it because this is who I am. And so by teaching our children not to suppress those emotional needs, we move forward. Denial and minimization of who we are and what we have done as human beings, and I'm talking about the whole humans in general now. Some families deny and minimize the impact of these traumatic experiences. And that takes sometimes a form of refusal of acknowledgement to the trauma and downplaying the significance it has. These things happened. We need to understand that it is not a way to cope with this. Yes, it's a coping mechanism to prevent a fear. However, it is not a coping mechanism suitable to adjust and to address or resolve the ongoing psychological harm that is being perpetuated in this cycle of trauma. So, I mean, there are so many points that one can talk about when it comes to the psychological state of and the impact of ancestral trauma. I could go on, but I'm just glad and honored again to be here with you. It's a great way for me to think of new processes and new ways to help people that want help. I'll rest my mic. I'm stealing that from you, Bukhari.
Godfrey, do you want to comment? Because you keep getting kicked out. Can you hear me? Oh, is frozen.
It's frozen, yeah.
Yeah, me guys, I'm for God. I'm loving God, and I know my religious. I know this is not about religious, but I'm so glad that having God in my life is why I'm able to actually come here and put this topic and actually embrace the person that I am. Because when we talk about God, people think about God is a white man. God is this, they have this label. but it's not really a white man. God is a God. It could be black. So that's why I'm actually standing here psychologically. And when I was looking for speakers, I could see there's so much anger, black and white. People don't want to talk about this topic. They're like, this is deep. I don't think I can do it. So I just want to just say a message out there. The only way to move forward, if somebody's still feeling anger inside for what our ancestors went through, that means we need healing. That means the people still, they need healing psychologically. And if we pass through our children, and that is going to affect them, it's going to affect how they are able to move forward with their lives, because you can't be free if your bloodline is not free. If the blood is crying, that blood needs to be silenced, like what Jamal was saying. Jamal was saying he felt his ancestors, the blood crying. That means the ground was spilled on the ground. And that blood is never going to be silenced until it has been silenced by somebody in the bloodline who stands up and say, I'm silencing my bloodline. I want my bloodline to live in peace, so the living can live in peace, so my children can live in peace and move on with their lives and live the life that God created them to become. So that's what Jamal was saying. Is some people, they know the story of Abel and Cain. So that's what happens when ancestors, the blood is spilled. The blood, when the blood is spilled of a human being, it doesn't just go away. It will keep affecting the generation after generation. So that's why for those who are angry, for those who feel that we did this talk show to show people that it's okay to express your feelings. It's okay to actually talk about it, so that your children can be free. Because if I'm feeling like I can't talk about it, it means my healing is taken me a long time to be where I am, to actually freely and talk about my ancestors. For the first time, there was pain, imagining how they end up where they ended up. Instead of living the life, I could have been a princess myself. Not that I want to be a princess, but that life, honestly, Kamal, I could have been a princess. That life, but that life was stripped away from my ancestors. It was stripped away. The history was changed by somebody else. So that if somebody is angry, I can understand it, that yes, the people are angry. But all I'm saying is, I think for our children's sake, psychologically, we need to deal with it. We need to face it. Black people need to start coming out and express how they feel and be the changer in our color. And if there are white people out there who wants to stand up for our history, why staying behind? Move forward and speak your own truth, because that's what life is about speaking your own truth, and at the same time building a life for, like what Jamala was saying, education. We'll have to have an education system for this generation, just to express ourselves. And I'm sure somebody can build that, because people are scared. They don't want to confront the subject. What if there's somebody between the speakers? Honestly, I spoke, even Tamia come out, Tamia does not refuse anything. She was like, oh, no, Msa, this is deep. This is pain. I don't want to talk about pain. I did some research. What my ancestors going through, they've gone through pain, and I don't want to confront that subject. So it shows that deep inside, there's still some pain. Hope, do you have anything you want to say, or you just want to listen?
I am listening for the most part, and I'm, as I'm listening to the different conversations, and I think of our young people today and the way so many of them are going in certain directions because of this trauma, the emotional trauma, the mental trauma, and even the systems as Brother Jamal mentioned that are in place where the drugs are being inserted in the community. And even little things like, it's little, but it's not little, of living in a country that declares to be free, but you need the law to tell you that you can wear your natural hair. That is flabbergasting. I mean, it's like, what? I mean, it's like saying, I don't even know if there's words to put to something like that. So I'm just here listening, and I'm originally from the Caribbean. I live here in Toronto, Canada. And Jamal is my personal friend, and we've had several conversations. And my perspective is, I'm probably not as widely versed to say Bukari or Jamal because I don't have that personal experience. Not to say that I haven't been through stuff. I just came out of a workshop where we talked about the racism in the covert racism that happens within the system, a microaggression, like not getting proper marks in school or being ignored. And then you end up being labeled as antisocial because you decide to not participate because you keep getting ignored. Or the same things happen, similar things like not getting a job because of your name or, your address, where you live, or, all these. So these are all the things that are running through my mind. It is so poignant, and my heart is overwhelmed in some way. I wouldn't say overwhelmed, but filled with just, as Brother Jamal said, it's the same no matter where you go, to different degrees, different intensities, but the story is still the same. And one of the things that personally and it's just a personal thought on as we navigate with each other, I kind of have this personal thing about saying we're all the same. Do we need to all be the same? Flowers in the garden are not all the same color. The trees and the fruits are not all the same color, but do we like one tree less because it is a different fruit? Do we like one rose, a red rose, less because it's not yellow? Do we really need to say we're all the same to appreciate each other? I have a little bit of a personal beef with that concept that we're all the same. No, we're not. We're not all the same. We are different, and we can celebrate and appreciate those differences because it is because of differences that makes us such a rich, diverse world. Wouldn't it be boring if all the flowers were roses, or if all the roses were yellow? Wouldn't it be boring if we only had mango trees and we didn't have guava trees and apple trees? You get what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. So this concept of us being the same, I think there's little things that we have accepted as being norm, or even saying another thing that we have accepted or is repeated over and over again is we tolerate. Do we want to be tolerated, or do we want to be accepted? I close my mic on this.
Godfrey, would you like to comment? You keep getting kicked out. Hey, thank you so much, Hype. That was powerful. Do you want to speak, Godfrey?
Yes, thank you for this second opportunity. For us, as South African family, we believe we are created in God's image. We are all equal, we are all the same. But because of others' wishes, they try to see that Africans, we are not humans, which is not the case to me. Just black is a color, but we have the same blood, or we have red. So For me, what I can say, when we unite with one reason, with one aim, we can make the world a better place to live in, with everyone, with everybody.
Powerful words, very powerful. Uniting. I don't know if anybody is aware of that, but this is one of the reasons that Muammar Gaddafi got assassinated. It's because he was on the path of uniting Africa together. The Libyans were living very nicely, actually, because each Libyan citizen was getting a share out of the petrol income from Libya. So they had no reason to revolt. And this is one of the things that happened with the Arab Spring, just throwing this in the middle. Again, white Europeans interfering in the world of Africa to suppress the growth, to suppress power, and to suppress the rise of Africa.
You finished, Kamal?
Yes, come over the crowd.
I'm done. Sorry. Yeah, I rest my mic. I forgot to say.
Claudia?
Yes, I'm just realizing as well, again, as when I'm listening to everyone, as even this topic here, it comes always as well here back to ourselves, to self-love, you know, just like experiencing this so that we go within and find the truth within us, self-love as well, and to take as well our power back in regards to personal power, and not to believe the world and this lies outside, which would be circumstantial power. So the lesson as well here is to take our power back and to just like self-love, you know, just like to stick to us, love ourselves, and the truth is as well within inside of us.
Yeah, and that's so important. Finding love for ourselves, self-love within whatever is going on, appreciating, to reiterate my point before, appreciating our individuality, appreciating our differences, and loving each other, not in spite of our differences, even with our differences, acknowledging that we have more in common than we have that are different, but still appreciating our individuality. I think it's so, for me, it's so important to appreciate the fact that, yes, we are unique. We are unique as individuals. We're unique in our concepts, the way we look at things, in our cultures. Part of the issue, I think, with some of the coming together is trying to make us all the same, to be. Can we not see our differences and love each other, appreciate each other in our differences, appreciating that uniqueness that each of us bring to the table in whatever way we do, appreciating our unique gifts without trying to make us all the same? It's never going to happen, and we'll continue to run up against a brick wall if we continue trying to make us all the same. That to me is part of the problem. That for me is part of the problem, because we're never all going to be the same. We are different. We are unique, individually, culturally, etc. So let's just acknowledge that, accept that, and come together in our uniqueness and see how our different unique perspectives, viewpoints, etc., can work together to make the whole better. We don't want all doctors. We still need nurses. We still need the garbage man. We still need whatever. We still need the electrician. We still need a plumber. We don't want to all be the same. It doesn't work. I rest my mind.
Fred, where's he going?
I knew it was in her. I have to say, I knew it. I seen it burning in you, yeah.
Go on, Bukari. You want to say something? Go on.
Oh, no. I just wanted to say that seriously. I love, listening to the elders talk. I'm so grateful I was able to connect with Baba Jamal and as we say in our culture, yeah. Mama, Mama Hope. So it's such a blessing to hear them. And I just give thanks to our ancestors for being able to, hear their wisdom, man, and glean from them. This is the way it should be. And also for Claudia and Kamal, their proof. That's the reason why I said I don't believe in making a blanketed statement, that we can come together, because I don't hate them. You understand? I don't hate them at all. I don't hate nobody. Even the one that hate me, the racist person that hate me, I don't hate them because my heart is right. I understand that that's a learned behavior. If you being a father, like you said earlier, being a father, my son is 24. I have 4 grandchildren. Okay. I never raised my child, or I'll never raise my grandchildren to look at somebody of Eurasian ethnicity and to be prejudiced. You understand? Because my heart is right. My mind is right. Why? Because I was taught right. You understand? So I have the right perspective because I was taught right. And we live the way we think, but our thoughts are influenced by information. So because I was taught right, my attitude is that mood because of the way I was raised. I wasn't raised to be prejudiced. Believe it or not, even after the racists called me a nigger, I still didn't hate them because I understand that they're brainwashed. You understand? And if they attack me, then I would just defend myself. It's not because I hate them, it's because I love myself. And I'm not gonna let nobody hurt me. No, it don't matter if they look like me or not. If an African man tried to hurt me, you think I'm standing there? Oh, that's my brother. Go ahead, just beat me up. I don't think so. I'm not gonna stand there and let him, sucker punch me just because he looked like me. I'm gonna defend myself. You understand? And it's because I love what? Me. So what am I saying? When we talk like this, some people will label it as race baiting. That's why I said all that. No, it's not race baiting. When I teach my people to love ourselves, it's not race baiting. If you listen to me talk the whole time, have I ever said a word of hate? I'm just acknowledging the facts about what's going on. You understand? So what am I saying? I'm saying what's happening today, because we're talking about the lingering effects of slavery. So when African people put forth the effort to love ourselves, it's always, well, all lives matter. Well, last time I checked, when it comes to saving the animals, does anybody start arguing about saving the crocodiles or saving an endangered species instead? Well, all wildlife matters. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting how when it comes to an animal, there's no debate. But when it comes to a human life, oh, well, all lives matter. Society has to learn how to stay on the topic of discussion. Okay, if we're talking about oranges, we're talking about oranges. Don't try to say, what about apples? You understand? This is why African people get frustrated. because we can't, a lot of times people don't want to have this discussion. So Sister Nomsa, I said all that to say, I'm so grateful for this discussion, and Claudia and Kamal, I just want to thank you both for being bold enough to stand up and fight against what's wrong, and to stand up and to speak out for another human life. So I want to commend you on that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't want to have this discussion, because you know what the fear is? That we'll start attacking you as Europeans. Seriously, that's really what it really is. That's what they don't want no fight to break out. They probably gonna feel like, oh, they just gonna get up and start attacking all of us and look at us with hatred. And no, that's not the case. That's not the case. And in society, for those of you who are watching today, pay attention, because this is what mature conversation look like. I just wanted to add that. This is what mature conversation look like. This is what happens when you have other individuals of the European ethnicity that's a part of these conversations who really understand and they comprehend, you know what? You as an African have a right to be upset. You as an African have a right to feel that way. You as an African have a right to question, why do you want to help me? Because how can you blame us when what happened to us historically and what's happening to us in modern day time? So how can you blame us for not questioning why you want to do good? Why are you so upset? If you're being honest and you say you're a person that stands for truth, and especially if you're saying you're a Christian, then that shouldn't even be a debate. What's the problem? If you say you follow after the spirit of truth, and the truth leads you to all truth, even if that truth is about your own ancestors, then you should be for that. If you say you're righteous. And I don't care if you African, I don't care if you claim, I don't care what your ethnicity is. If you say that you stand up for truth and you stand up for what is right, it don't matter who it's happening to. I think it's wrong for people just to beat dogs. It's wrong. Are you serious? You just going up and kicking the dog and just be, why? I feel that way even about animal life, that it shouldn't be just treated any kind of way. So how much more so a human life? And that's just a question I have to leave on the table. How is it that you don't have a problem with an animal which still deserves respect? I heard the statement, respect is due to a dog when I grew up. Respect is due to a dog. You understand? You know, so how could you not respect the human life? And you, some people, society got to understand this, is that the effects of slavery today is numbing you to a human life that's African being taken. And say, oh, you know, just go on about your business, go, oh wow, well, what's new? And then start saying, you know, it comes up, oh, they're killing each other. This is what happened. This is what happened when you say what happens and what is happening, and they try to deflect the conversation and start making it about, oh, well, they killing each other. To try to justify why they took a African person's life. Well, they kill each other. Look at the gang violence and everything. No. Police brutality. What happened to George Floyd? What does that have to do with African on African crime? That makes no sense. And I'm talking about, you hear this stuff on the news. You literally hear cops talking about, oh, he looks like he's a threat, but he got his hands on his head. But he looks like you. Literally, the helicopter person, I can't remember what the pastor name was. I wish I could remember what the pastor name was, that they end up, the Caucasian lady end up shooting him, talking about she thought she was reaching for her taser. But literally, the police officer in the helicopter said he looks threatening, but yet his hand is on his head. He looks threatening because of what's been put in their head about us, that we're going to do some type of harm to them. And that's just not true. I don't go around here thinking about how can I hurt Caucasian people, even after all the stuff being done to us. Because I know every person is not alike, and I believe you deal with a person accordingly to their conduct. And we're talking about prejudice. All of us not out here robbing. All of us not out here stealing. All of us are not here selling drugs. All of us are not gangbanging. All of us don't abandon our children and our responsibilities. Right? So historically speaking, let's just be fair. What about the Revolutionary War? It was Caucasian on Caucasian. What about the Civil War? It was on Caucasian on Caucasian. What about the Boston Tea Party? Caucasian on Caucasian. What about what happened at the White House, the insurrection, when they tried to take that over? So what am I saying? What do the Chinese people go through? Communism. So what am I saying? It's not the skin, it's about what's within. It's the matter of the heart. It's your heart condition. And I think what we all need to do is stop judging people, prejudiciously, and get to know a person before we draw any conclusion about an individual. I yield my mic. I'm done for the rest of the evening. Done. I'm just listening. I promise.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. And you know what? We are all. For me, this was a no. This was a. Of course, I'm in Nomsa. I grew up with African Nigerians, Ivory Coasts, Kenyans, South Africans, Ethiopians, Nubians. I grew up with the African community, whether it was France or in Egypt or wherever I went. I found home with the African community. It was easier. It was more fun. Discussions at dinner table and the food and everything, how the children spoke to their parents and the grandparents and the respect. It is the same education that I had at home. And I felt home. So for me, coming to this discussion, it was a no-brainer. But I want to sum up what you were talking about, Bukhari, and as well the diversity that you were talking about, Hope, with a very simple sentence that it's a verse actually that comes out from the Quran. And the verse says, this is paraphrasing it obviously from the translation, we've created you from male, female, and made you people of tribes so that you may know one another. Now, the idea behind it, there's a continuation to it, obviously. The continuation to it is to explain that diversity exists within us. We are not the same. It emphasizes that people come from different backgrounds, different tribes, different nations, and it encourages individuals to appreciate, understand each other, promoting unity and cooperation. And the same verse at the end talks about we are all equal in the eyes of God, but we are different, but we are judged based on our righteousness, not our race, not our nationality, and definitely not our social status. So this brings in the diversity that Hope was talking about and what you just mentioned, Bukhari, to respect humankind in general. We are humans. We should all have the same rules that apply to the dogs and the cats. And oh, you have to, you should kill the rat in a humane way. What about humans, like you said, Bukhari? Yeah, all right, that's it for me. I rest my mic.
Yeah, I've got something to share as well in regards to, you guys are wonderful as well, our guest speakers. I can really see that every one of you did their own work in regards to, understanding living with it, and now as well be ready to be out there and to share the message. And your ancestors are so proud of you that you are doing this and putting as well the message out there to the world now, because some of them have not been able to do this in the past. So this is why here you great people come along and you break basically as well the cycle here and to put the message out there. So thank you so much for this evening. I have to say my time is up for this evening. So it was a pleasure being with all of you. And yeah, just thank you so much. I have to go. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, Claudia.
Bye-bye.
Jamal.
Yeah, Jamal, yeah. I thought you said Kamal. It's very close.
Jamal, yeah. Jamal or Kamal.
Kamal and Jamal.
I just want to say that I enjoyed the presentation, and I enjoyed fellowshipping with all of you beautiful people. I want to say and reiterate what Brother Bakari stated a little differently. To me, truth knows no color. We are all engaged in a fight to save humanity. Multicultural education is the key, because we are moving very rapidly into a multicultural planet that understands the value and contributions of all human beings as a collective human family. And with that being said, I have a curriculum design project that it's due, so I'm going to have to excuse myself. And again, say that I have enjoyed immensely you guys' company. Peace.
Jamal, before you go, can you tell our audience quickly about your book on Amazon?
The book on Amazon is entitled Memoir, Ripples of Time, Memoir of a Former Black Panther. What I do is I speak truth to history, my experiences as a Black Panther, as a student leader at the University of California at Berkeley, where we implemented the first Africana Studies department that still stands today and is one of the best in the world. I segue into my experiences on the African continent as a teacher, installing mobile health clinics in South Africa. I speak to the origins of slavery, the origins of white supremacy thought from the Enlightenment period. I discuss the morph of police slave patrollers into modern day police. I deal with domestic white terrorism, the rise of Trumpism and fascism in America. It is a collage of historical events that I have witnessed, but I have researched and also have taught about. So if you guys are interested in getting a complete history of slavery from 1619 to the present, certainly get my book. I discuss also how democracy and the threats to democracy and voter suppression didn't start with January the 6th, Appaloosa in Louisiana, Elaine, Arkansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wilmington, North Carolina in 1897 was the first successful coup d'etat on American soil, where white terrorists overthrew a duly elected multicultural government in North Carolina. So I give you a complete history of white terrorism and domestic policing in America.
And I've posted a link in the chat.
I put the link on the videos on YouTube as well, so okay, people can find it there.
It's
All right, I appreciate you guys, and
Thank you so much, Jamal. Before you go, I just want to say we appreciate you, and God bless you. And we're going to talk after this whether you guys want to come back and do part 2. So it's your decision. The platform is here, and we appreciate you, and God bless.
Well, not to interrupt you, but yes, I would certainly come back because I love the company.
Thank you.
Good people, good people.
We love you. We love you too. Thank you. Also, Hope now. Hope, do you want to say something before we leave?
I've said what I needed to say. I was really happy to be here. I'm honored to be here. I love the conversations and powerful conversations. Thank you, Kamal, for all your input and your insights and your obvious desire to make a difference. And Pokari, powerful input and conversations. Really appreciate you. And Namsa, appreciate you for putting this together. And thank you. Just really honored to be here and to listen, have my little piece, and to learn from each and every one of you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Bukari and Hope and Kamal. I know it's not an easy topic to actually talk about, but you guys had the courage to come here and talk about it. And I know there are some people who are going to learn something from this conversation. And if you guys want to do part 2, just let me know. We can do part 2 of this. I think it's just been great. It's actually nice to listen to different views, how people think, because, you know, that's why I said from the beginning that don't hold back, because if I'm bringing you here at Ngozi Talk Shows, I don't bring you to actually tell me what you believe that the audience want to hear. If you are somebody who is here to add value, you have to speak the truth, your own truth, and just add value to the audience. And you guys did that. And hopefully you guys will come back. And God bless everyone. I'm just so grateful that I have you guys in my life being part of here. And I don't know what the future holds, whether we're going to come back and do the series or what we're going to do. We're going to create a group on WhatsApp, just the 7 of us, and then decide what we want to do, whether we want to do just part 2 or we want to do it as a series. So that platform is here for you guys. We can do it as a series and just find a time that is suitable for us and just be here, add value to our audience. We're just not talking in private so that they know what we are real. Yeah, we're real. And thank you, Kamal, for just, I just love the attitude. You know, that's why you're part of my life. I love the attitude you have. You always put yourself out there, and you don't really, you don't do things because you love them. You do things for the audience. So I love that. You always
I don't do things because I love them.
No, you do things for the audience. There are some speakers that talk about the topic that they love, but you just turn up. Whatever the audience are calling you to do, you're there. So that's what I love you. I love you for that. And Bukuri, you always like saying, my sister, when I talk to you, I know I said to you, Nisa, please, when you're looking for speakers, don't waste time and asking Bukuri because he's already agreed. So it's like, yeah, so I'm so grateful, guys. So I'm just going to say we're here at Ngozi Talk Shows Monday to Friday. To our audience, if it is your first time to see these guys, we are here Monday to Friday. And we talk about all different topics. We have a group on Facebook, Ngozi Talk Shows group. We have a Unique Billionaire Mindset group. So if you want to join the group and use your psychology to talk about what you do, you can join the group. That's fine. And God bless everyone and live with grace.